If you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. As a man thinketh, so shall he become. The premise of Think and Grow Rich is if you can think it, then you can achieve it. Hence, my Lifebook by Jon and Missy Butcher. This is essentially a life vision that I've created 3 years out. It's currently 2024. This is my Lifebook for 2027. And you can see I have a few major components here. I've taken the big achievements of my life vision and I've boiled them down to 3 points. The first being my podcast setup, the love of my life, making money on the internet, traveling the world with AI, and then traveling the world. Currently, I am here in Argentina. This is 100+ pages of my life vision that has been distilled into 12 different parts. Every part correlates with 1 month of the year, and every month I focus on one of these 12 parts, including my life vision, health, my intellectual life and emotional life, my character, my finances, my social life, my spiritual life, my love life, my career, my quality of life, my parenting life, and my life vision. Currently, we are in September 2024, and this correlates with my financial life. Boom. This is the picture of an NFT that I dropped as a song on publicpressure.com. And this reminds me of my ability to be able to make money on the internet uncorrelated with my time. By releasing one song in collaboration with Nandy Flips, I was able to make not much. It was probably around $200, $250, but it was one of my first experiences separating my time and my money and having some income on autopilot. That's why this is significant to me and why I've chosen it as the title page of my financial life. And what I want to do today is break down what I've written down here and then share some of the lessons that maybe you can take for yourself and you can build upon. Some of the ideas I've learned from plenty of books, mentors, podcasts, and a lot of internal soul searching. I do a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation, and these are the things that I've distilled over 100 hours of work, over 100 pages of writing. These are the golden nuggets that I'd like to share with you, and I hope that will help transform your life as it is helping transform mine. I'm currently at a stage where I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. I'm traveling abroad, currently in Buenos Aires. I'll be here for at least 2 months. And this is all because of my financial life. If I didn't have enough money saved or I didn't have the financial discipline and systems and processes to be able to automate my finances, I may have never came here. So let me break down how I've done this for myself so that you can do it as well. 2 sections to start with: the premise, what do I believe, and my anti-vision, what do I not want. Premises are foundational beliefs. Elon Musk refers to them as first principles. These are my first principles when it comes to financial life. Premise, what do I believe? To win the money game, achieve financial independence. Naval Ravikant says that the purpose of wealth is freedom. You want to have enough money to be able to buy your freedom and do whatever it is you want. That's why it's so important to unlink, to decouple your time from your money so that you could eventually buy your freedom. If you have, let's say, $1 million invested and you get 8% return in the S&P 500 per year, 8% of $1 million is $80,000 per year on autopilot. That's one way to go about it, but you can do it many other ways. You can own a business, you can own equity, you can have an automated online business, what Timothy Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week refers to as a muse. Foundational belief number one, to win the money game, achieve financial independence. Number two, money is good. It is my friend. We do good things together. If you've ever heard the saying that money is a cruel mistress, and if you don't pay attention to her, she will leave you for someone who does pay attention to you. This is why you want to make money your friend. You want to pay attention to it. You want to believe that money is good, because if you don't have this fundamental belief, then you'll believe that money is bad. And your brain will stop you from accumulating wealth because you have that foundational belief that money is bad. So we want to flip that on its head and make money our friend. Make money a good thing. Make money be something that allows you to do good things together. Number three, we live in an abundant universe. Being abundant is being aligned with the universe. This is one of my favorite beliefs. We live in an abundant universe. There's, from the blades of the grass to the leaves in the trees, everything around me is abundance. The stars in the skies, the water in the ocean, the air in my lungs. We live in an abundant universe. And if you are not abundant, you are not being aligned with the Tao, with the way of the universe. Number four, wealth is businesses and assets that earn while you sleep. Again, decoupling your time and your money. If you can put your income on autopilot, it allows you to do so much more. If you can free up your time, your location, who you work with, and what you do, these are the four pillars of financial freedom. This saying comes from Naval Ravikant. Wealth is businesses and assets that can earn while you sleep. This could be an ebook that you sell, equity that you own, a social media page that makes money for you while you sleep. This could be blog articles. This could be your investments. Anything that earns money while you sleep, that decouples your time from your money, is a foundationally great asset to have. Next, the purpose of wealth is freedom. This is one of the things I touched on right in the beginning. The greatest gains in life come from compound interest. If we're familiar with compound interest versus simple interest is getting 3% a year return on your investment. Compound interest is getting that 3% put back into the original amount so that it grows exponentially. You have that hockey stick effect. And we absolutely love this. This is one of the secrets to wealth. Albert Einstein says that the eighth wonder in the world is compound interest. So we want to take advantage of that as soon as possible so that you have more time to let it compound. The secret to compounding interest is time. Even if you invest a little bit of money, but you give it a long timeline, it will compound exponentially into an extreme amount of wealth. It doesn't necessarily matter if you put a lot in there to compound. If you leave it a short amount of time, it won't have the time to compound. So it's much better to get started early, give it a long runway, and just let it do its thing. But one of the secrets of compound interest is that it not only applies to your finances, which we're talking about here today, but it applies to all areas of life. Your skills can grow exponentially. They can compound. If you are good at arithmetic, and then you get good at business math, and then you get good at doing taxes for businesses, and then you get good at mergers and acquisitions, and then you get good at buying and selling businesses, and then you get good at X, Y, and Z, you can see that your income will start to grow with each level of skill stacking. So the greatest gains in life come from compound interest. Another example is meeting somebody, getting married with them, and then having a family. This is exponential growth in the relationship that you've cultivated and given it time to grow. The greatest gains in life come from compound interest. And you want to apply this to as many areas of your life as possible. Your finances, your relationships, your career, your skills. You've probably even noticed if you stay in one location for a long time, you start to build your network, and then those people introduce you to more and more and more and more and more people, and your network grows exponentially. This is the secret to a lot of companies in Silicon Valley, like Facebook or Uber, or a lot of these companies that tap into the network effect. It's a technological form of compound interest. So take advantage of that in every possible way you can. Next fundamental belief, I am a money magnet. If you believe that money is attracted to you, it will come. You will do things that make money attracted to you, and it'll want to hang around. It'll want to be your friend. If you have this foundational belief that I am a money magnet, it'll be much easier for you to act in accordance with that and accept your blessings instead of unconsciously pushing them away. I made an affirmation for this that goes, I am a money magnet, abundance is all I see, from the blades of the grass to the leaves of the trees. I am a money magnet, abundance is all I see. I attract money, money is attracted to me. And that is coming directly from this NFT. I'll link to it down in the description if you want to take a listen to the song. Then one of my daily affirmations, I listen to it every day. It's a nice EDM song filled with affirmations. And it's called Money Magnet, hence the magnet here. Next foundational belief. Wealth is a ratio of how much you spend to how much you have. Let's say you're making $50,000 a year and you're only spending $25,000 a year. That means for every year that you work, you have 2 years worth of buffer. And if you can separate those two things, if you can earn more and spend less, then eventually you can get to 3 years of buffer, 4 years of buffer, 5 years of buffer for every year that you work. And that's why wealth is a ratio of how much you earn to how much you spend. If you're earning $1 million a year, but you're spending $1.2 million a year, you will not be wealthy. You will go into debt because your ratio is off. So think of wealth as a ratio instead of a solid number, instead of a fixed number. You want to get the ratio in your favor by separating how much you earn versus how much you spend. The goal is to keep as much of that as possible. Next belief, I deserve equity in the businesses that I help grow. If I'm providing value for a business, let's back up for a second. Money is just a store of value. If you create value, then you get money in exchange. So if I create value for a business, I'm entitled to some of that value in the form of compensation or cash. And I have a fundamental belief that if I help a business grow, then I get to keep some of the equity. It's nice to get a paycheck, but there's no upside to that. With inflation going crazy these days, then we're losing money every paycheck if we're not getting a raise. So we're fighting to keep up with inflation. Whereas if you take equity in a business, then that equity is very likely to outpace inflation, a 3%, 2% cost of living adjustment, a 10% raise. It's much better to get equity in the businesses that you help grow so that you can become part of the owner. Again, wealth is businesses and assets that earn while you sleep. Next fundamental belief, money is a measure of value. To have lots of money, create lots of value. Money makers have done the most for humanity. They have created the most value. Because money is simply a store of value, you have to create value in order to get money. And I have a fundamental belief that a business is built to solve a problem. Businesses are solutions to problems. So if we want to solve the world's problems, well, then we have to create businesses to solve these problems. If you want to make $1 billion, then serve 1 billion people. And that's why money makers have created the most amount of change in society. If you think of Elon Musk, for example, one of the richest people in the world, he's saving the planet with Tesla. He's accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy, and this is his way of contributing to humankind. Now moving on to the anti-vision. What do I not want? Charlie Munger says that he uses the inversion principle. Because we are human beings, our mind is geared towards survival and adaptation. So we are 10 times more likely to pay attention to negative things that could cause us to be in danger than we are to the potential gain, to the potential positivity. So Charlie Munger uses the inversion principle to figure out what it is that you do not want, or what is the opposite of the thing that you want. And then we can just flip that on its head, and we can figure out what we do want. And because it's 10 times easier to see potential problems and potential solutions, this is where we start. So the anti-vision here, what do I not want? I'm going to read this to you here. This is what I not want, my anti-vision. Jordan Peterson says it's good to have something to run away from and something to run towards, your anti-vision and your vision. Here is mine, specifically for my financial life. I have a lack of money and I'm constantly stressed, hungry, and have low confidence. My lack of money is affecting everything. It's hard for me to date. I can't maintain social relationships. Stress is lowering my performances at work, and I lose my job, which was my only source of income. I have to take on debt at a high interest rate, and it's compounding against me faster than I can pay it off. I'm forced to sell my assets at a loss or file for bankruptcy. Me and my family get sick, and I have no money to support them. Their health spirals downwards, and they die. I fall into a deep depression, and my partner leaves me. I become desperate and commit crimes to get money. I get caught and end up in jail with interest compounding against me. I'm financially ruined for life, and not even bankruptcy can help me. I live the rest of my life in fear, uncertainty, and scarcity. I become a burden to my family and opt for dying a lonely existence. Horrible. I get goosebumps just reading that out loud. And that's very important. With the anti-vision, you want it to be a visceral, somatic reaction. You want to be able to feel that inside you and be like, I definitely do not want that. I will do whatever it takes to run away from this anti-vision. And that's what it is for me. You figure out what that is for you. You're welcome to build off of mine, borrow anything that you want in this video. But this is mine. Next, my vision. What do I want? What are the things that I am running towards? I live in financial abundance. I have achieved FIRE, financial independence, retire early. I have achieved FIRE and build money-making projects for fun. My money is compounding and I am feeding the fire. I have a learning fund that is compounding onto itself. I have diversified my streams of income and I've doubled down on my most fruitful one. I create 2 automatic streams of income per year and my income compounds as a result. I have productized myself and earn money as a result of my brand, character, skill set, and connections. I own equity in companies that I sit on boards for, advise for, and help grow with my marketing skills. I have immense leverage and create millions in value. My leverage comes from content, code, collaboration, cash, and skills. I have achieved my financial independent goals of lean FIRE, and I have $500,000 invested, giving me $400,000 per year on autopilot. I am well on my way to $1 million invested. I have achieved my first 10K month and have made it consistently and largely automated. My abundance of financial resources allow me to make others rich, have a large impact on causes I care about, and be generous with my friends and loved ones. I have an abundance mindset and my results prove it. My businesses are growing exponentially and so am I. Now that's a vision I can get behind. That's something that I can wake up every day and start to work towards. That's something that makes me feel really good. I spend a lot of time in my Lifebook just reading it, thinking about the future, making plans. And in one of the upcoming sections, I will break down the strategies to achieve this life vision. But first, I'll tell you the purpose. Why do I want this? Simon Sinek has a great book called Start With Why. There's a very great psychologist, Viktor Frankl, who says he who has a why can endure almost any how. If you're not familiar with Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning, he was a psychiatrist who went to one of the Nazi prison camps in Auschwitz. He was doing his psychiatry practice inside of Auschwitz, and he realized that those who were to survive, those more likely to survive, always had a vision that they were going towards, whether it was seeing their family again. In his case, it was writing the book, A Man's Search for Meaning, where he would share with the world, how do you find meaning? That was his life vision, was to put that information into the world. And because he had such a strong why, he was able to endure the how of Auschwitz, eventually putting his book out and changing the lives of millions, even for future generations to come, including myself. So start with why. Purpose. Why do I want this? Money can improve every area of my life. Money will take care of me if I take care of it. Money is a result of creating value, and I am a value-creating person. Money gives me freedom, and I demand and work for freedom. I am a giver by nature. Nature returns your effort. Money can take care of my family, grant them citizenship, and keep them healthy. Money can make me more powerful, persuasive, and able to achieve my goals. Money is a form of potential energy, and I want to be in a position of shi. This is a term that comes from the art of war, Sun Tzu. He describes shi as being, S-H-I-H, shi, as being in a position of maximum potential energy. He describes it as a rock, as a boulder being atop of building. In chess, for example, shi is being in a position where you can make as many moves as possible. There's a term called a fork in chess where you attack two of your opponent's pieces at the same time, and shi is the extreme version of that. You put yourself in a position where you can attack as many different of their pieces as possible. Money has a large impact on my quality of life, love relationships, and social life. I want to win the money game so that I can be free of it. Once I have the skills to win the money game, I can teach others how to do it. We live in an abundant universe, and I want to be aligned with the laws of the universe. A lack of money brings sadness, stress, fear, uncertainty, and weak morals. He who has a why can endure almost any how. And finally, the final section of my financial life, strategy. What will I do? These are big buckets of things that I can do to help me achieve my life vision. Starting with making long-term decisions. Think long-term time horizons. Currently, there's a big trend of day trading. I've noticed this a lot, and that's very short-term. That's holding it for seconds or minutes, maybe even days. But the longer time horizon you think, then you can start to take advantage of compound interest, which we talked about earlier. For example, I'm holding Bitcoin, and a longer time horizon is a 4-year halving cycle. I'm investing in my Roth IRA. This I can't even touch till I'm in retirement age. I'm currently 28 years old, and I won't be able to retire. I won't be able to touch the money in my Roth IRA until I'm at least 65 or 67. So that's a 40-year time horizon. That is one of my strategies. Own equity in companies by sitting on the boards, advising for them, helping them grow with my marketing skills, and investing in companies. Choose compounding vehicles. We talked about a few of these earlier. Skills compound. Your audience or your brand compounds. If you have a lot of followers on YouTube or social media, they will tell other people and your audience will grow exponentially, which you can then later monetize. Investing, if you invest in companies, then they reinvest the money that they make in order to continue to grow, therefore compounding in your favor. Technology compounds. There's something called Moore's Law, stating that every 18 months or so, technology gets twice as good and is half as cheap. So if you've noticed, memory cards, for example, 2 megabytes used to be the most you can get. It used to be a huge deal and very expensive. Now you can get 2 terabytes for the same price that you got the 2 megabytes for back in 10, 15 years ago. Technology compounds. If you work for a technology company, for example, then you can ride that wave. Artificial intelligence is a huge trend currently, and something that will continue to compound. If you've seen the difference between the generative art like Midjourney or DALL-E, it started very primitive and it got good very quickly. Same thing's going to happen with artificial intelligence or just technology in general. So figure out how you can ride that wave. Recurring business models compound. If you have a subscription service like Netflix, for example, 1 customer will get you $20 a month. 2 customers will get you $40 a month, and then on and on and on and on and on until you are getting exponential recurring revenue. So figure out how in your business models you can make it recurring. How can you make it a subscription? Relationships are compounding. I gave the example of meeting a person, dating them, having a family, having grandchildren, and spending your life with them. That is a compounding relationship. And finally, exponential organizations. I mentioned technology companies organize, grow, compound. There's something called an exponential organization who took that idea to the extreme. They took all of these things that compound: an audience, the skills, the investing, the technology, and the recurring business model, and they combined all of these things into a single organization to focus specifically on the compounding effect. These are called exponential organizations. Really good book on this called Exponential Organizations 2.0 is the one I would recommend, by Salim Ismail and Peter Diamandis. Exponential Organizations 2.0. If you're a business owner, highly recommend you read this book. If you're an entrepreneur, also a really good book for you. Next, strategy. Don't lose money. Do not lose money. Warren Buffett says the first rule of making money is don't lose money. The first rule of investing is don't lose money. The second rule of investing is don't forget rule number 1. Do not lose money. And that's because there's an asynchronous risk and reward. Let's say you have $100,000 and you lose 50% of it. Now you're down to $50,000. Let's say you make 50% of that back. So we lost 50% and now we're gaining 50%. But 50% of 50,000 is 25,000. 50,000 plus 25,000 is 75,000. So you went from 100,000, you lose 50% down to 50,000. You gain 50%, you only go back up to 70,000. In order to go back to the 100,000, you would actually need to make 100% return, even though you only lost 50% return. So just to break even, we start at 100,000, you lose 50%, now you're at 50,000. You'd have to make 100% return just to get back to where you originally were. That's an asynchronous risk and reward. That's why it's so important not to lose money, not to invest in things that you are not familiar with. So 2 subcategories of don't lose money: never invest in things that I do not know, and eliminate the downside. Look for investments that have an asynchronous risk and reward. Tony Robbins has a really good book called Unshakable, and he talks about some of the best investors in the world. Look for asynchronous risk and rewards where they can bet $1 in order to gain at least $5. and even more if possible. If you can risk $1 to potentially gain $100, then you have 99 shots to make that risk and reward pay off for you. So we are looking for these sort of asynchronous risks and rewards. An example would be investing in a stock that also gives dividends. So now you have two ways of growth. If the stock and the value of the company grows, you make money. If it doesn't grow or it grows slower than you would like, you're still making a dividend. So now you have two ways of potentially making money, and really only one way of losing money if that company guarantees a dividend every quarter, half quarter, year. Next, 10% of my income is located to a learning fund. Automatically, I've set up my bank account so that every paycheck, 10% of it goes into a savings folder that I have called my learning fund. And we already talked about how skills can grow exponentially. The purpose of this learning fund is to increase my earning potential. If I continuously reinvest in myself and my knowledge and my mindset by taking online courses or books or classes, then my earning power will increase, and that will then put more money into my learning fund, which will then increase my earning power, which would put more money into my learning fund, which then increases my earning power, and then you can see how that starts to spiral upwards. That is why I've allocated 10% of my income to a learning fund, and a very good strategy that I would highly recommend to anyone. You don't have to start with 10%. It could be 5, it could be 20, it could be 25, but start that compounding. Remember, it's not about how much you put into the learning fund, it's about how much time that has to grow. So it's better to get started sooner than later, even if you only have a little bit of money to start with. Time is your friend when it comes to compounding. It doesn't necessarily matter the amounts to begin with, it matters the time horizon that it has to compound. Next, increase the spread between my income and expenses, something we've also talked about. Next, retake Marissa Peer Hypnotherapy for Abundance course. This is a very good, Marissa Peer is UK's, one of the UK's top hypnotherapists, and she has a really good online course called Hypnotherapy for Abundance, where she rewires your mind and your beliefs for abundance, for money specifically. I took this maybe a year or two ago, and it really unlocked my potential for earning income. Sometimes people have limiting beliefs when it comes to income that stops them from asking for a raise or getting a better job or feeling like they deserve more money. This is a really good way to break all of those and rewire your thoughts and beliefs. Again, that was Marissa Peer, Hypnotherapy for Abundance. It may be a little expensive. I forget, I paid for a year's worth of many classes. Maybe it was like $500. And this is one of the many classes. But if you have a learning fund, then you'll make that money back in no time. Next, create 2 automated sources of income per year. I started to think about businesses like projects. If I can release a project and then another project and then another project, there's a statistic that says 8 or 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the 10 years, within the first 5 years. So the thought that came to mind was, okay, I'll just make 8 or 9 of them, 10 of them, in order to have one of them succeed. Don't worry about businesses that don't work. Don't worry about the failures. Just stack your wins. If the winning ratio is 1 to 10, then you got to make 10 of them in order to have one grow. If you want 10 successful businesses, then you got to start 100 of them. So I've started creating projects that will hopefully give me income, and I'm starting slowly with 2 per year, which will also compound. Next, always pay myself first. I invest 25% of my income on autopilot. Every time a check comes in, my bank account automatically allocates 25% of it to my investing fund. I call it my Pay Yourself First fund. Pay Yourself First comes from the richest man in Babylon, George Clayson, the author of that book. Very good book, especially if you're beginning in finance and personal finances. Short book, you can read it in one day over a weekend, maybe 70 pages or so, and super cheap, $7 you can get that. Jim Rohn has a very good joke that's like, oh, this book is $7, you can borrow that from your kids. Highly recommend. So pay yourself first. Automatically, 25% of my income gets invested into my Roth IRA, the S&P 500, and Bitcoin, and a few other investments. And this is separate than my learning fund, which is essentially investing into myself. So that's 35% of my income is getting reinvested into either myself or my investments. And I'm using dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is when you invest the same amount at a set frequency. So for me, that's every month I'm investing 25% of my income. So that way, when the stock market is doing well, I'm buying the same amount. When the stock market is not doing well, I'm buying the same amount, and it'll average out. Next, learn from financial experts. Jon and Missy Butcher, creators of the Lifebook program that created this book, they are multimillionaires. They have a beautiful house in Hawaii. They have a dream life, really. And they are financial experts. So learning about the Lifebook system and process, I learned from them. I mentioned Tony Robbins, George Clayson. A lot of people, the number one book I recommend for finance is a book by Ramit Sethi, R-A-M-I-T-S-E-T-H-I, called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Very good book, very good book. I've read about 13 books on personal finance. Of all the 13 books I've read, that is the one that I have gifted the most. Highly recommend. They'll teach you how to create a money system so that every time you get a paycheck, some of it goes to your 401k, some of it goes to your Roth IRA, your savings funds, your investing fund, and then you have a guilt-free spending fund because you know that you've already invested and you've saved and you put money where it needs to go automatically on autopilot, and anything that's left over is for you to spend guilt-free. And it's freed up so much of my time. I used to track all of my expenses. I have a spreadsheet. I used to input all of my expenses every month. It would take me 2 hours a month, and it just wasn't sustainable. I found myself skipping a lot of months, but ever since I've automated it with the lessons from this book, I've never looked back. Now I spend maybe 15 minutes a month on my finances, and I know that I'm saving a ton, I'm investing a ton, and anything that's in my bank account, I can spend guilt-free because I've already allocated the money to where it needs to go. Ask for a raise every year. Keep track of your accomplishments. I have something called a brag book, and tie them to financial results. This is something that I learned from Jon Butcher, which is the creator of the Lifebook program. He calls it a brag book. So every time I get a compliment, my boss says I do well, I achieve one of my quarterly goals, we hit our financial targets. Anytime I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be doing in the business or go above and beyond, anytime I do an extra task, pick up some of the slack that's needed in a small team, which I work for, then I put it in my brag book so that at the end of the year I can say, hey, look at all these things that I've done. These are the financial results that have come from it, and these are compliments that you've given me. And for these reasons, I feel like I've created a lot of value, and I would like to share in that value, so I can ask for a raise every year. Or, life hack, you can ask for equity. Like, hey, if you don't want to give me a raise, if you don't want to give me bonus, let me have a piece of the company. Give me equity so that I will be better aligned and incentivized to grow the business because I will be a partial owner. I will be more invested. I would much rather have equity than a bigger paycheck because you're battling against inflation and so on, and equity can grow a lot more quickly. And next we have yeah, and that is all. That is all for today. So this has been my financial life 2027, coming from my Lifebook 2027. And today we talked about the financial life. This is a picture of a guy chilling with his money trees and AI in the palm of your hand, allowing you to automate a lot of your income. Highly recommend the Lifebook. Highly recommend the Lifebook. That has been 1 out of 12 sections in my entire Lifebook. I've spent over 100 hours writing this. This is over 100 pages. I spend about $100 putting this together using something Alex Hermosi calls the rules of 100. $100, 100 hours, $100, 100 pages. And I'll leave you with one last thing, two last things. Firstly, this is my Life Vision 2027. This is taking all 12 of these categories and putting it on a single page. I read this almost every day. It helps keep me focused and see what direction I want to go to. But what I will leave you with is one of my favorite quotes from Alice in Wonderland. Alice says, "What road do I take?" And the cat says, "Well, that depends on where you're going." Alice says, "I don't know where I want to go." And the cat replies, "Then it doesn't matter which road you take. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there." And that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, are doing in their life. They are drifting, what Napoleon Hill calls a drifter. They are simply going on with the whims of life, following those around them, not necessarily carving or choosing a path for themselves that they want to go. If you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. As a man thinketh, so shall he become. That's why it's important to create a life vision, to know what direction you're going so that you can go there. I like to say that you cannot set a GPS if you do not know where you are going. So that's why I created this life book. If you like this, let me know. I can go through the other chapters with you. And if you like this, please share this with somebody. I'm new to the YouTube channel. I have 2 subscribers currently. So I would appreciate it if you could subscribe as well. Maybe share this with somebody you think may be interested. Leave a comment if I can help, if I can support, answer any questions. Absolutely happy to do so. Peace and love. Best of luck. I believe in you, and I'll be here to support you. Peace. Lifebook.